Okay, so one of the things that I get asked a lot about is about doing some cooking videos. I'm always a little reluctant to do that because I'm kind of an improv cook. Um, but, people ask about it, so I decided I'm going to do one today. We're camped at a dog camp up in Oshoto, Wyoming, middle of nowhere, northern Crook County. Very nice spot, very quiet and restful and peaceful. So if you're looking for a place in this part of the country to get away from everything for a few days or whatever, this is a great spot to do it. Lovely ponderosa pine forest around. So we got a campfire, a fire pit, and even firewood they delivered here at this campsite. So I've cooked a few times on the fire in the evening, so I'm preparing another one again tonight. And there's two basic approaches to that. You can, well, maybe three. You can do it in a pot. You can do things on a grill over the fire, and I'm not doing either of those tonight. I'm doing the old aluminum foil approach, where we'll get the fire good and going and get a nice bed of coals. Then I'll drop some prepared pouches of food in there and cook it up that way. And the beautiful thing about doing it in the foil, the steam is all held in, and it's kind of, it just comes out tasting good, almost no matter what you do to it. So we're going to get started. I've got 2 bowls here, and I'm going to fill these up just to make things easy, and then I'll put those contents into the aluminum pouches, and then we'll get the fire going. So I'll start with cutting up some pepper here. We have a bell pepper that I've been working off of for a couple days now. I wish these came a little smaller because you have to refrigerate them, which is, a challenge. If you don't have refrigeration, if you do have refrigeration, my experience with a lot of 12-volt refrigerators is that the temperature control is a little flaky, and so you tend to have like stuff is either parts of the fridge are too hot or too cold, or the whole fridge is too hot or too cold, depending on the time of day. They just aren't as accurate as a home fridge. So it's hard on produce. This part is a little more interesting maybe. I like to use boiler onions a lot in the van. You don't have to do that. You can use a regular onion, but for much of my time on the road, I haven't had refrigeration. And you cut open an onion and use a quarter of it or a third of it or an eighth of it, whatever it may be. The rest of it isn't going to last long if you're not able to refrigerate it. So you can use regular whole onions, of course, if you have, a way to refrigerate them, or if you can use the whole thing in one shot. I tend to not use it all in one. So I like to get these boiler onions because they're just the right size, and I'll use, depending on what I'm doing, I'll use 1 or 2 for the meal, and then, the rest of them keep just fine because they had the skin peeled off. They don't need to be refrigerated yet. The boilers are a little bit, it seems to me they have a little bit less flavor, a little less pungent than regular ones, so you may have to adjust your ratio, how much you use to get that just right based on your preferences, but they're convenient. So if you don't have refrigeration, this is something to think about. And you can't always find them though. They don't always have them in a store, but if you can, there's an option. So we'll just chop these up and throw them in with the food there. And yeah, I know real cooks say there's certain ways you should chop onions and all the rest, and like I said, I told you I'm an improv cook, so I'm not too worried about that. And if my cousin Becky's watching this, she's probably cringing because I'm probably destroying this onion, because she's a professional chef. So sorry, Becky, don't mean to make you cringe. Alright, so there's one down. Put that onto this bowl. I've got some garlic I'm going to use. This is just minced garlic. Comes in the jar. I had real garlic from my brother and sister-in-law in New York, but that's all run out now, so back to the stuff you buy. And I use dehydrated garlic or powdered garlic if necessary when I don't have refrigeration, but since we have refrigeration, I can keep the minced stuff, which I prefer when I have a choice. This is just a log of summer sausage that we have. Nothing fancy. So I'm just going to cut up some of this and stuff is really tasty when it's cooked up. I apologize here if you can't see me too well in the camera. I did the best I could to frame up the kitchen counter and me, but kind of working in really close quarters in the van. That's one of the reasons I procrastinated about doing the cooking videos, because they're a lot easier to do outside, but I don't have a table right now, and the weather is just, I love cooking outside, I want to say that, but probably about 50% of the time the weather's conducive to it, and the other 50% of the time it's too hot or too cold or too windy or too many bugs. So that's just reality of being on the road, you know. So it happens, and it's a reality of camping if you're not on the road too. But I guess the catch is, if you're going recreational camping, it's easier to go home if you're not having a good weekend. When you live out here, you know, you gotta make do. So, which is also a reason I would recommend to anybody that if you're planning a van build, to seriously give some thought to building in a small kitchen, even if you think you're going to cook outside all the time, because sometimes you're just not going to be able to cook outside, and, either because of, like I said, because of weather, or because of, you know, you camp somewhere or you're stealth camping and there's no legit place you can do that in town. I mean, a lot of towns have city parks or whatever, but sometimes not, or not that allow cooking, you know. So it's just, yeah, it's good to have it inside, even if you don't plan on using it. Then, you know, if you do need to, at least you've got the option. I'm also going to throw a little butter in here with these, a little pat of butter in each one. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to anyways. Oops. It gives a little bit extra flavor and hopefully help keep things from burning until the steam starts building up good. Like I say, you will get a lot of steam once you start cooking. Now I need some vegetables to go in here, and I'm going to, I make no claims these are the best options, but one of the things with vans, and as I was saying about produce, it's hard to keep produce very long, more than a couple days. So these are little cups are about the right size, I find, for a lot of our meals, whereas the canned ones are larger and not quite so ideal. So these are good to use, and I think, and again, I do buy fresh produce when I can, or when it's reasonable. The weather is the big factor there. The weather and how weather if I'm staying in town, I can buy stuff every other day. It's no big deal. If I'm going out camping for a week and it's hot or cold, I know it's going to spoil either by, you know, getting too hot or too cold. So, okay, so I'm back from dumping these out. They had the water in them, and I just, whenever I'm dumping things like that, I let you go a good long ways away from camp. Obviously to keep big critters like bears at bay, but also to you know, keep ants and flies and things away. All right, so we'll just mix this in too. Deborah's not as big of a fan of corn as I am, so set that aside for her, and put it on the edge of hers in case she wants to pick it out. And some green beans. And some green beans for Deborah. Okay, and I'm going to dump a little bit of seasoning on here. This is a Montreal steak seasoning. This is my default pepper seasoning. It's a mix of peppers and a few other spices, and I just find it works really well as a default go-to seasoning when I want to spice something up a little bit. Haven't tried it yet. I recommend it. It's not in the original jar because it didn't fit so well on my nifty spice rack that my friend Greg provided for me. Actually, it's custom made. He's made it in his wood shop in Montana. All right, I'm going to throw a few potatoes in here too, so just to round things out. And again, a little trick here, like with some of the others I showed, like with the boiling onions. You can buy regular potatoes, they're a little cheaper. The catch is, again, I don't always use a whole potato. I'm trying to use a small thing, and then I have to refrigerate it or whatever. So these are, you know, perfect. I can use like this. Deborah's been cutting back on what she's eating, doing good. So So I just slice these up, you know, and you can use, I'll often use 3 or 4 for a meal for the 2 of us. And, you know, typical potato trick, if you cut them a little small, they cook faster and easier. And this is really the only thing in here that's got to seriously cook, the potatoes. Alright, so they're all set. Now we're just going to pack them into aluminum foil and we will be good to go. Alright, so nothing real scientific about this, other than maybe guessing the size foil you need. Just dump that on there. And Deborah's not as big of a corn as I am, so I'll put this on the side so she can, you know, pick it out. She says she likes it a little better if it's well done on the fire, but that's hard to control or predict accurately, so we'll make it so she can pull it out easy if she wants to. From that, we're just going to fold it up. I like to wrap the top and fold it over several times, because I want to make sure, crease it good. I want to make sure the steam stays in, so that everything cooks good. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the sides, basically, and fold them up and crease them good. Again, make sure everything, steam stays in and they're hot. Alright, there's one down. And it already smells good, and it's not even cooking yet, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's it, so we'll go get the fire going and throw these on. It does take a while for the fire to get good and hot, so we'll go get started on that and have some good dinner in a little while. Okay, so fire's getting hot, there's some coals in there, so I just went ahead and threw the foil packages into the coals. The logs that are burning are around it, so they're just sitting in the coals. And I'll turn them over once or twice. They've been sitting on this grate here getting kind of preheated, so I'll just have to turn them once or twice, and we'll take them off and see how they turned out. Okay, so Deborah just opened hers up, it came off the fire.
Yeah.
And now it's time to see how it turned out.
Okay. Warm. Oh, it tastes so good. It is so good. Oh, it tastes so good.